When you know, you're judging them on Brexit, they don't know nothing about it. Who knows about Brexit?
Yeah, quite.
No one's got a fucking clue what Brexit is, yeah? You watch Question Time, it's comedy.
Were you no clearer when Jeremy Corbyn explained
No, I ain't got a
Labour's
clue.
policy?
No one knows what it is. It's like this mad riddle that no one knows what it is, right? So what's happened to that twat David Cameron who called it on? Let's be fair.
I think you're referring to our former Prime Minister.
Yeah, but how comes he can scuttle off? He called all this on.
About that, I wake up every morning thinking I've got a mandate to change the country. I've got a mandate to improve living standards. I've got a mandate to improve the health.
In a fiery moment that sent shockwaves through the British political scene, Danny Dyer, the outspoken actor known for never holding back, dropped a bombshell on live TV. Dyer's target, none other than Labour leader Keir Starmer, and let's just say, he didn't go easy on him. Now, we all know Danny's not exactly the kind of guy to mince words, but this time he truly went for the jugular, and it's all anyone in Britain can talk about.
Dyer kicked things off by painting Starmer as a man who's been handed the position on a silver platter, without really doing anything to earn it. He got the job handed to him on a plate, Dyer sneered, practically rolling his eyes at the very thought. This wasn't just a quick jab. Dyer was taking direct aim at Starmer's legitimacy as Labour's head honcho. You could almost hear the frustration dripping from his voice. For Dyer, and for a lot of folks watching, Starmer represents the worst kind of politician. Someone who talks a big game, but fails to deliver anything that genuinely improves people's lives. And it didn't stop there. Dyer went on to criticize Starmer's policies, especially his approach to pensioners. Here's a man, Dyer argued, who claims to be working for the little guy, but his actions are hitting some of the most vulnerable people in society. It's like, mate, if you're supposed to be the voice of the working class, why are you targeting pensioners? It's a good question, one that a lot of people watching couldn't help but nod along to. Dyer wasn't just speaking for himself. He was giving voice to the frustrations of everyday Brits who feel increasingly let down by the political class. One of the most powerful moments came when Dyer asked, "What are you going to do to show us you're different?" It's a question that's likely been on the minds of many Brits as they watch Starmer try to balance his promises with political reality. For Dyer and countless others, Starmer's leadership feels like a letdown, a disappointment. Here's this guy who was supposed to be the fresh face, the one who could finally take on the Conservatives and restore some hope. And yet, where's the proof? Where's the substance? It's a sentiment that resonates, especially among those who feel Labour's been all talk, no action. Dyer didn't shy away from bringing up the big elephant in the room either, Brexit, and he did it in classic Danny Dyer fashion. Who knows what Brexit is, yeah? No one's got a clue, he laughed, poking fun at the chaos that the referendum left behind. It's like this mad riddle that no one knows what it is, right? He's right. Brexit was supposed to be this defining moment, this grand departure from the status quo. And yet, years later, people are still left scratching their heads, wondering what it all means for their daily lives. And then, with one swift jab, Dyer brought it all back to the person he believes is truly responsible, David Cameron, the man who promised to steer the ship, but bailed the second the waters got rough. David, who called it up, let's be fair, but where is he now? Dyer's question rang out, a reminder of the political chaos Cameron left behind when he slipped away to Europe, seemingly without a care in the world. Dyer's not one to let things go easily, and he called for Cameron to be held accountable. It's a point that hit home for viewers who still feel the sting of broken promises and abandoned responsibilities. What's fascinating here is how Dyer positioned himself, not as just another celebrity spouting off, but as a voice for the people. This is meant to be a working-class party, he argued, slamming labor for drifting away from its roots. And he brought up Angela Rayner, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, as an example of what's missing. When she speaks, I listen, he said. Dyer's message was clear. We need more people in politics who actually understand the struggles of working-class Britain, not career politicians who only pretend to care. It's almost as if Dyer is calling for a return to a time when leaders were genuinely in touch with their constituents. His comments reflect a growing disillusionment with a system that seems increasingly out of touch. For Dyer, Rayner represents something real and genuine, qualities he believes Starmer lacks. It's a criticism that stings precisely because it resonates with so many Brits who feel their needs are being sidelined. And Dyer didn't stop with Starmer. His words also held a broader critique of the entire political establishment. He talked about how British farmers are being ignored, how taxes are climbing to record levels, and how the promises made to working-class people have been abandoned time and time again. The working people of this country are going to pay the price, he warned, highlighting how tax increases and political inaction are squeezing people's wallets and their futures. His words were a reality check, a stark reminder of the cost of political gamesmanship. Dyer's outburst wasn't just a random tirade. It was a pointed, passionate call for change, for accountability, for a political system that actually serves the people it claims to represent. And judging by the reaction, it's clear that he's touched a nerve. Danny Dyer may be known for his no-nonsense, rough-around-the-edges persona, but in this moment, he became a spokesperson for a nation fed up with empty promises and broken systems. It was a moment of raw honesty that you don't see often in politics, especially from someone outside the political arena. Dyer's critique wasn't polished or politically correct, but that's exactly why it resonated. He was speaking from the heart, saying what many people have been thinking, but have been too polite or too afraid to say out loud. And in doing so, he struck a chord with viewers who are tired of feeling like they're being left behind. As the dust settled from Danny Dyer's on-air takedown, it became clear that this wasn't just another celebrity rant. This was a man channeling the frustration of an entire nation. Dyer's discontent with Keir Starmer cuts deeper than just personality or policy differences. It's about a fundamental sense of betrayal. For many in Britain, Starmer represented a new hope, a leader who'd finally bring real change. Yet here we are, watching as promises fade and actions seem misaligned. Danny's call-out isn't just about politics. It's about the disillusionment that so many Brits feel when they look at those in power. Dyer then tackled what he saw as Starmer's failure to prioritize Britain's working class. He didn't mince words, asking why more working class people weren't represented at the top. He praised Angela Rayner, saying when she speaks, I listen, highlighting her authenticity and connection to the people, traits he feels Starmer lacks. To Dyer, it's not about party lines. It's about genuine leadership. And he's calling out Starmer for missing the mark. You could practically hear the crowd nodding along, tired of politicians who seem more interested in optics than outcomes. What's especially interesting about Dyer's critique is how it resonates beyond just Labour supporters. His words touch a raw nerve for anyone who feels let down by the entire political system. It's not just Starmer in his crosshairs. It's the whole game of politics as usual. Dyer's outburst put into words what so many have felt: that the system is broken and that those at the top are too disconnected to see the real impact of their decisions. It's a frustration that transcends political affiliations, reflecting a deeper, more widespread disappointment with leadership across the board. And it doesn't stop at domestic issues. Dyer took it further by addressing the delicate relationship between the UK and the United States, particularly pointing out Starmer's recent clashes with former President Donald Trump. Now, love him or hate him, Trump's influence on the global stage is undeniable. Starmer's decision to go head-to-head with him is a risky move, especially with the UK's need for strong allies. Danny's point was clear. Starmer's actions are putting Britain's global standing at risk, and in Dyer's eyes, it's reckless. The irony here, Dyer's not a politician, but he seems to understand the stakes better than those who are. While Starmer grapples with political strategy, Dyer's critique taps into a simple truth. International relations aren't just about ideology. They're about real-world consequences. And, for Dyer, watching Starmer fumble with these relationships feels like watching yet another political misstep, one that could have serious repercussions for Britain's future. It's a bold stance, and it's made all the bolder by Dyer's unapologetic delivery. Then there's the issue of the Reform Party and Nigel Farage, a figure who's been stirring up British politics for years. Dyer pointed out how Farage's rise, controversial as it may be, signals a shift in public opinion. People are growing tired of the same faces, the same parties, and the same empty promises. Farage may be a polarizing character, but he's managed to tap into something that the traditional parties have missed, a genuine desire for change. And that's where Dyer's comments hit hardest. He's warning Starmer, and by extension all British politicians, that the public is ready to look elsewhere if they don't start delivering on their promises. Dyer's point about Farage isn't so much an endorsement as it is a wake-up call. The people are restless, and they're looking for something, anything, that feels different, that feels real. If the Labour Party, or any party for that matter, continues down this path of broken promises and political theater, they might just find themselves on the wrong side of history. Dyer's critique is a reminder that the British public isn't endlessly patient. They want leaders who will fight for them, not just fight for power. Dyer's takedown wouldn't be complete without a throwback to his infamous Good Morning Britain appearance from a few years back, where he called out then Prime Minister David Cameron for scuttling off after the Brexit vote. To Dyer, Cameron's departure was the ultimate betrayal, a leader who called the shots but didn't stick around to deal with the fallout. And now, as he looks at Starmer, Dyer sees a similar pattern. Politicians making promises they can't or won't keep, leaving the public to pick up the pieces. Danny's words remind us that at the end of the day, he's just a regular bloke who's as frustrated as anyone else. His fame might give him a platform, but his frustrations are the same as those felt by millions of Brits. By calling out Starmer, he's not just pointing fingers, he's demanding accountability. And in doing so, he's sending a clear message to all politicians. If you want the trust of the people, you'd better start showing you're worthy of it. It's moments like these that make you realize just how much power the public holds, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Dyer's outburst was a reminder that politicians are, ultimately, accountable to the people. And if they don't start delivering on their promises, they might find themselves facing a reckoning far bigger than they anticipated. Danny Dyer may be one man, but in this moment, he's become a voice for a nation hungry for change.